For years, the Jeffrey Epstein story has been this tangled web of power, money, and just horrific crimes, all wrapped up in secrecy. Well, that secrecy, it's starting to crumble. We're talking millions of pages of government files that were once completely hidden from view, and now they're being released. And you know what? They could change everything we thought we knew. It all boils down to this one absolutely staggering number: 3.5 million. And no, that's not dollars or assets, that's pages. 3.5 million pages of secret government records. And they've just been made public. I mean, think about what's in there. We're talking a potential treasure trove of evidence. Emails, notes from interviews, photos, maybe even videos, all kinds of investigative materials. This is a raw, totally unfiltered look into one of the most disturbing criminal networks in modern history. So yeah, this isn't just some random data dump. It might just be the roadmap to the truth we've been waiting for. So you're probably wondering, how did these files, which have been locked away for years, suddenly see the light of day? Well, this wasn't some kind of leak. It was actually the result of a deliberate and, frankly, monumental legal effort. Okay, so this release was all because of something called the Epstein Files Transparency Act. It's a landmark piece of legislation that was signed into law late last year. It basically forced the Department of Justice to make all these documents public. And this letter right here is them making it official. The floodgates, they are finally open. And the scale of this whole operation was just immense. Get this, the DOJ started with over 6 million pages of stuff that might be relevant. Then it took a team of more than 500 government attorneys and reviewers to sift through every single document. And they had one absolutely crucial goal: to protect the identities of Epstein's victims. The language in the act was incredibly broad. It demanded the release of all unclassified records. So this was never just about Epstein himself. It's about his accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, those infamous flight logs, and really any individuals, including government officials, who were connected to his crimes. The whole point was to leave no stone unturned. But look, to really get why these files are such a big deal, we need to take a step back and understand the man at the center of it all. Who exactly was Jeffrey Epstein, and how on earth did he operate for so long? This is really the core puzzle of Jeffrey Epstein, isn't it? On the surface, he was the picture of success. He went from being a teacher to this financial wizard, a philanthropist who was rubbing elbows with the absolute elite. But underneath that very carefully crafted image was a horrifying reality: a convicted sex offender, a human trafficker, and a predator on a truly massive scale. He used his incredible wealth for more than just luxury. He used it to buy access. He wove this incredible web of connections that stretched all the way from royalty and presidents to the biggest names on Wall Street and in Silicon Valley. And this network, it gave him more than just status. It gave him a shield. And as it turns out, that shield was incredibly effective. Which brings us to the big question: how did a man with such a dark, twisted side operate right there in plain sight for so many years? The answer, it seems, is buried in his very controversial and complicated legal history. This timeline really tells a story of justice delayed. The first real investigation kicked off way back in 2005. But for 14 long years, he pretty much escaped any serious consequences. It wasn't until 2019 that he was finally arrested on those federal sex trafficking charges. And then, just over a month later, he was dead. At the very heart of that long delay was this now infamous 2008 non-prosecution agreement. It was a secret deal that has been widely and rightly condemned as a total miscarriage of justice. Instead of facing federal charges and maybe life in prison, he pleaded guilty to lesser state charges, served a measly 13 months, and even got to leave jail for work release. For his victims, it was a complete and utter betrayal. And, that betrayal left behind a mountain of unanswered questions. Questions that have haunted his victims, journalists, and just the general public for years. But now, with the release of these files, there's finally a new hope for answers. So the first and probably most pressing question is all about his network. We know about some of his powerful friends, right? But who were the enablers? Who actively helped him commit these awful crimes? These files, with all their detailed records on his associates and travel logs, could finally show us the full extent of this web of complicity. And then, of course, there's the mystery that still surrounds his death. The official ruling was suicide, but that has done almost nothing to quiet the widespread speculation and all the conspiracy theories. These new files contain materials from those official investigations. So the question is, will they finally put these doubts to rest, or are they just going to deepen the mystery? Look, with millions of pages of raw data now out in the open, the search for truth is officially on. Journalists, researchers, everyday citizen investigators, they're going to be poring over these files for months, maybe even years to come. This isn't just about solving the mysteries of one man's life anymore. It's about uncovering the secrets of a system that allowed him to flourish for so long. The big question is no longer just what's in the files, but what are we going to do with the truth we find?